I think with me personally right now, I'm learning to forgive myself because like I just think about like a lot of like the mistakes I made, the things I've gone through. It's like I think sometimes like I've completely forgiven my dad. Like I'm in a place where I've forgiven him, like truly. Like if he were to message me, like it's no bad blood or anything. If I seen him, it'd be cool. Like obviously it'd be emotional, but I have no anger or bitterness towards him. It's just I'm in a place where I don't need the relationship in a sense. So it's like if he were to come back, we're not gonna have this like father son relationship. Like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I have people in my life who I go to for counsel and advice. Like he's not gonna just like step into that role, but like it's all love. So I'm in a place where I'm like really like just learning to like forgive myself for the mistakes I've made. Trying to be like a better husband, a better brother, better friend, better boss. And I'm learning to just let go.
I just don't believe that we were saved to stumble our way through life this side of heaven. I believe that we should respond to His saving grace with a life that glorifies Him in every way, both the spiritual and the practical. Welcome back to the SavedTlk Podcast. Today, I'm super excited. We got a guest coming on, Aklesso,
Yes, sir.
the main man, CEO, rapper, got his clothing line. Super excited, bro. Thank you so much for having us out here. I know that, Guy brought up about a week ago. He's like, man, we really need to get Aklesso on here. He's got a story. He's gone through a journey, and just what he's been able to accomplish is something to discuss. So yeah, man, like talk to us a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your journey, how you grew up, and how you ended up where you are today.
Yeah. Speaking of journeys, I took a wrong turn to get here. Wrong turn off the turnpike. Came a little late, but yeah, my journey's kind of crazy. Like, it's one of those things where, like, looking back on it, I'm just like, yo, how God? Because it's like one of those stories, like when you watch in movies, not trying to compare my life to a movie, but it's like everything kind of like starts off like really cool. Like everything starts off really great, and then boom, like tragedy happens, and then it just shifts the course of everything else. So it's like growing up here, like everything was like really all good. Like mom was in the picture, dad was in the picture, had sisters, went to a good school, was in church. Like pretty much everything was like cool. Like mom had a good job, really good paying job. Like she was a lawyer, made a lot of money. But my dad was a good dude, but he's just like you ever watch what's that movie with Will Smith with his son? Pursuit of Happiness. Yeah. So he was like him, where he kind of like had these ideas but could never follow through.
Okay.
Like that's like how I would describe my dad.
So he never got to the point that Will did in the movie.
Exactly.
And accomplished that, that dream, that goal.
So it was him. And I see myself a lot like him. But because of what I went through, it's like I base a lot of my expectations on reality and tangible things.
Okay.
So that's kind of like how I shifted from that. But anyway, so he's like that kind of person. So he like pretty much at the age of 12, my age of 12, he like abandoned his whole family for that
pursuit, whatever that was.
For that, whatever that was, for that pursuit. And his mind, thinking like, I'm going to prove this and it's kind of just like, yo, you're a whole dad, bro.
Like, yeah, for real.
Like if you're in your, like, in no disrespect to anybody chasing their dreams, but like, if you have a whole family, like, and not like little kids, but even if they were little kids, like 12, 14, and like 8, like, you got to sacrifice, you know what I mean? Because like, this is not Disney World, and then his decisions really affected me. So we went from living really well to like food stamps because soon after that, my mom's lawyer committed fraud and like millions of dollars worth of fraud. And my mom almost went, almost served prison because of that.
Wow.
My mom is a very trusting person,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
like always sees the best in people. I mean, she saw the best in my dad, like, and look what that happened to us.
Yeah.
So it's like one of those things where it's just like, she got screwed over. And it was kind of sad too because the church she was in, like, was like telling her like, oh, like you can't divorce my dad. You know what I mean? Like you should still stay with him, but it's like, yo, he's abandoning us. So she wasn't in the most healthiest church. So she walked away, from God, and just things just started crumbling. So with me, I'm kind of just like, dang, like God, where are you? Like I did everything right. I did everything I was supposed to do, what I thought I was supposed to do. You know what I mean? I stayed out of trouble. I'm 12 years old.
Yeah.
Like my understanding of God is if you do good things happen to you. But that's not Christianity. That's like New Age. Like that's karma. Like it's not Christianity. But that was my understanding of Christianity at a young age. So I was like very angry with God.
Same.
So coming from having a lot to having nothing, and then struggling, and then feeling abandonment, dealing with insecurities, issues, like that just kind of wrecked me. Like having a weird understanding of God, like seeing my relationship with him was more so as like a genie. Like I don't know, it was like it's crushing to like a 12, 13-year-old kid.
Yeah, that you got to earn.
Yeah.
You got to earn your a good standing with God and earn like Yeah.
And
So-
dude, like I was 12, I just turned 29, and I still haven't seen my dad since.
Wow.
Since I was 12, I still haven't seen him.
Wow.
So it's like, I don't know, it was just kind of like really crazy. But what was crazy was during that time, I found music.
Okay.
Like, growing up, like Haitian household, you're not allowed to listen to rap music. It's definitely music. So I started listening to music, and my aunt, my aunt Shanna, she was a DJ, producer. My uncle was a DJ, Nally. Then my other uncle Montez, they would like spin records for me and make me freestyle over it. I mean, yo, freestyle, and they would freestyle over it, and then I would do it. And then my uncle Montez be like, all right, we got to make it hard for you. We got to get you on some techno beats. So he would get the most craziest techno beats and make me like
That's crazy.
freestyle it, and I just loved it. And then I was that kid in high school or like middle school that when they would beat on the table, I'd be the one freestyling and stuff like that. And I had a youth group pastor, and my friends, I would go to youth group, and I didn't really like going, but then I had a pastor, his name was Tim Adams, and he would be like, yo, if you come to youth group, after youth group, I'll let you freestyle on stage until your parents pick you up. So I'd be like, oh, I can stand on the stage and rap all I want, and they'll just play beats. So I would go every Wednesday, and I would stay till like 10 p.m. on Wednesday. You could end at 8. Me and my boys, we would stay till 10 and just rap.
Wow.
And then I was 16, and then he was like, hey, I really want you to come to Bible camp. I'm like, I'm not going to no Bible camp. Like, no way I'm going to Bible camp. I'm like, this is summer. I'm about to wild out. I'm 16. Like, I'm about to wild out. And then he was like, if you go, I'll pay for it. And I'm like, I'm not about to go to Bible camp for a whole week. And then I had a friend, I'm not going to say his name, but he was like, yo, you should come. There's going to be a lot of cute girls. And I was like, word? He's like, bro, and they have a basketball tournament. I'm like, oh, I'm there. So I went, bro. And then heard the gospel, and it would just felt so real. It was Word of Life Bible Camp up north, it's not Orlando, but somewhere up there.
Okay.
And I heard the gospel, and I'm like, wow, wreck me. Then they did this thing where you repent, and you take this thing, you throw it in the fire, to symbolize you turn away and repenting. It just felt really real for me. And from there, I just kind of made a U-turn.
What aspect of hearing the gospel, what was the aspect of it that was so night and day from what you heard that kind of created that, this is a breath of fresh air right here. This is different.
Yeah, and it wasn't like I hadn't heard something similar to that before.
Okay.
It was kind of just like, yo, like God desires you and God wants you. Like all you have to do is just repent and just follow him. And it like saying it out loud, like it doesn't sound so profound, but it actually is profound because it's like, yo, like I'm over here running from everything, running from myself, from my problems, from my insecurities, just trying to drown my life away and just, just really hide,
Yeah.
But it's like, in that moment, I just felt so seen,
Gotcha.
like
Gotcha.
I just felt like very, very much so seen. And it's like, yo, and it sounds corny. It's like, yeah, like he's actually a good father. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
he's actually a good father. And to me, like my just example of a good father was trash. So, and then from there on, I just kind of changed my ways. I try to make, healthier, better decisions. Got out of a relationship I was in that I knew I shouldn't have been in. Like, try to do the right thing. Failed a lot, obviously, but always just kind of like didn't let my failures define me. And just kind of try to go to Jesus, try to go to the cross.
Yeah.
And then a lot of things happen. But yeah, that was me as a youth. But it's crazy. And then, yeah, music kind of happened. That's another crazy story. But yeah, I mean, I guess we're here for crazy stories.
I know. Yeah, 100%. So you're 12 years old.
Yeah.
This happens. Life turns upside down. You're running from the God that you knew to be true at that time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're running from just the realities of like, my father abandoned me at 12 years old.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that your mom stepping away from the faith was another aspect of confusion for you.
Yeah.
That I think a lot of kids deal with, and instead of like facing it, or because you're young, they kind of put it to the back of their heads. Like,
Yeah.
my parents, let me just go on this journey with my parents and live life, I guess, the way we're supposed to live it now, right?
Yeah.
So that's a lot, taking place. But God's in the workings.
Yeah.
You end up getting connected to the church. Next thing you know, you're on stage rapping.
Yeah.
At a youth group. Now you go to a youth camp, a Bible youth camp, and you hear the gospel, and it hits you differently.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of crazy. It's like, I think of the story of Jonah is like, no, it's not the best way to say it, but kind of like how I see it is like, no matter how far you try and run away, like God's gonna get you. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's always gonna have his hand for you. But yeah, it was kind of crazy. Like, and even at that time too, like I had torn my ACL. So my ACL was torn. So I was in a very like.
Were you already in track at this time?
Yeah. So like I was already a phenom.
Really?
Yeah.
At 12 years old?
No, not 12.
16?
When 15, 16, that's when I got really good.
So that means because 15, 16 is your sophomore year?
Yep. Yeah, I was really good. And
okay.
like I was like one of the best like track athletes in the country. Like at the age of 15, I could long jump 23 feet.
Wow.
Yeah, like I was triple jumping 40 feet 10. Like,
how'd you get into that?
So my dad was big in track.
Okay.
But yeah, at a young age, I always did like summer track. So I was always competing. Long jump was something like I always had like springs. And then like I just always did it. Like the school I was like very big on track and field.
Okay.
Coach Doreen Mercer, she used to run for Jamaica. She's like another mom to me, was like just really big on pushing me in track and field. Like, so it's like track was just like very, very big. And I played basketball too, but sophomore year I was on JV and I got moved up to varsity. And the coach, he was like, look, the two guards are seniors and I'm never taking them out the game. So you can sit on the bench, or, which I would love you to sit on the bench. You can practice with us, or you can just go to track. And I was like, I'm not going to sit on no bench and do nothing.
Yeah.
Not sit on no bench. And in practice, like I would give it to them too. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't like, it's just one-sided thing. Like in practice, I'm going at it, like playing hard defense on them, scoring.
Yeah.
But they're seniors. They got it. Yeah. They trying to get scholarships.
What school you went to again?
Day Christian.
Day Christian, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember. That's where I first met you.
Yeah.
because we had a show over there.
Yep.
Authentic.
Yeah, Authentic had a show. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, Surge, all of them. Yeah. And yeah, you guys were actually a very big influence on me, just with the whole music thing too. Like, I don't know, it was just amazing seeing like Zoes, like Haitian, like
Yeah.
rappers, like really doing it. You know what I mean? And like, you know, I really love God, so it was like very like encouraging for me to see. Actually, Surge was the first artist to like serious artist like to co-sign me and be like, yo, like you got this, go do it. Like,
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that like yesterday, dude. Like,
man, I remember our performance over there too, and we came back there to play basketball with y'all.
Yeah,
yeah, I remember that.
And what I remember too, like the next time I met you guys was at Moochie's house.
Mm.
When Moochie was church planting the Brook, he would have stuff at his house, and I remember it was you, Woody, Serge, and then a tall dude with dreads. I don't remember his name. Okay, Gene. And it was like all y'all. And then we're sitting at the table. I think we're playing, what's it called? It's a card game. Oh, poker. It was poker. We were playing poker.
It was poker or the other card game that they usually play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We was playing that, and then I was just kind of like talking crazy. And then, Serge walked in, and then John was like, yo, that's Serge. And I'm like, shoot.
That's funny,
I'm like,
bro.
oh, shoot, Serge.
That is so funny. But the reason why is because at that time, like Authentic and Serge was the leader of Authentic, right?
Yeah,
we were really in Christian hip hop, like we were like.
But I'm telling you, dog.
So that's why.
Funny. Yeah, like I'm like, oh snap, it's Serge. Like Serge, like back in the day, Rapzilla used to be like this big Christian hip hop platform. At its peak, Serge was like one of the faces of like, this is the next guy who's gonna take over
Christian hip hop.
Like is him like taking over the South, and then you had like the Reach, and then on the West you had John Gibbs. So it was like, these are the people that are about to like take over.
Yeah.
So then when I see Serge, I'm like, dang, that's Serge. Like, oh man, he about to go to the same church as me. Like, I'm like, oh snap, like I gotta talk to him. So I'm there talking to him, and then he's talking, and then we're talking, and I'm like, and I remember it clear as day. Imagine a room, everybody's just talking, joking around. I'm talking to Serge, and then he's talking, and I'm like, yo, I actually rap too. The whole room gets quiet. Dog. Everybody stops talking. I remember Guy too. This man goes like this, holds his cards, and then just looks. And then kind of like turns his head away. And I'm just like, dang, like, should I not have said anything? Like, cause it's like, imagine like, they're doing their thing.
Yeah.
You know how many people probably tell them like, yo, I rap.
Yeah.
Oh, here's my CD. Like,
I've heard so many stories, but yeah, all the time.
So it's like, they're in an intimate setting.
Yeah.
And then it's like, someone's trying to, do that. So it's like, I'm like, dang, like maybe I should have done that. Like when I tell you, like the whole room was like talking loud, and then right when I said that, everybody got quiet. It was like so like mortifying to me.
Let me ask you a question though, because I'm going back to when I first met you, right? So when I first met you were very outgoing. You still is, though.
Yeah.
But energetic, very full of life.
Yeah,
I could tell, man. And as you telling your story about abandonment, because I experienced the same thing. My mom actually went to prison.
Oh, wow.
Right? When I was 11, 12. And what that did for me, it changed my attitude.
Yeah.
It changed who I was. Because as a young kid, I was very energetic. I was talkative. I was very outgoing. But the result of my mom going to prison, that made me shrink, right? That made me not be very talkative, that made me very laid back, nonchalant, that made me not open up to people. But so
it was the opposite for me.
It was the opposite
for me.
What was it about the abandonment that made you be more outgoing, more face to face with people? Because me, even Authentic, I was always in the background. Like, I was never that person is like, oh, I'm guy, you know.
Yeah, for me, I was kind of just like, so when my dad left, I'm like, wow, everything he said, he never meant.
Yeah.
So like he used to say, man, oh, my handsome son. I'm like, damn, I must be ugly. I'm like, he'd be like, oh, like, I love you. Like, dang, maybe no one can love me.
Yeah.
So like all these negative feelings like kind of like filled me. And then I was just like, you know what? I need to just write down, like affirm myself.
Yeah.
So I would just look in the mirror and be like, yo, I'm handsome. Yo, I'm sexy. Yo, I'm a good athlete. Yo, I'm strong.
And you just felt inspired from within to kind of like.
I was like forcing the inspiration, like, yo, I got to say this.
Well, what I'm saying is no one came to you and said, hey, you need to affirm yourself. No. Here's some words of affirmation you should. No. Wow, that's awesome.
I did it myself. And I'm like, man, I'm going to prove him wrong.
Yeah.
So a lot of me, like, working hard was like, yo, I'm about to prove you wrong.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm about to prove you wrong. And I just started trying to be more confident. And then I also, like, I would listen to a lot of hip-hop. So I felt like hip-hop would tell me, like, yo, you have to bag this amount of shorties to be
validated.
So I'd be like, all right, I'm going to be confident and I'm going to try and get with these girls to, like, prove, like, I am worth something. Mm-hmm. So I would make unhealthy choices and not value, like, other people because I was trying to validate myself, which is evil, which is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how I thought was the way to do it because that's what hip-hop taught me, you know? And then kind of, like, circling back and then seeing you guys, because the only Christian hip-hop I knew was you guys and then, like, Lecrae, Andy, Trip, Gavi. Those are the only people I knew.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I'm seeing you guys and I'm just like, okay, like, this is different, you know? And obviously, like, you know, becoming a Christian, like, my values were changing, you know? But back to that story, when I was doing that, I felt like, and then what was cool with Serge was like, oh yeah? Word? Like, he said, let me hear something. And I was like, oh, I got some on my phone, I could play it for you. And then we went in his car, or whoever's car he had, and I played it for him. No, it was his car. I played it for him, and he just listened to it the whole time. He's like, okay. He's like, first off, like, I really like your voice. Like, you have a good flow. I like your voice. But that hook sucks. Like, the hook sucks, but I could tell you have talent. And he's like, man, you got to take it to the next level. And then I'm like, word. And he's just talking to me and John, and my cousin Ricky. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to the studio later. Coming to the studio. He takes me to the studio and he records his song, Next Level.
Yeah.
And it was kind of crazy. And I was like, oh, wow. So, yeah, after that meeting with Serge, it was my first time seeing someone, like, in my eyes, was like someone who was actually in the league playing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really show me how to get buckets.
Mm-hmm.
I watched him in the studio. I watched him how he did it. Because I didn't really know I was doing in the studio. I'm just kind of figuring it out. And just to see someone at a high level doing it, I was like, okay. So then I dropped a mixtape after that. And then I did something where I was like, I hit up and I was in Virginia at the time, so in college, any person that had an open mic, any person that had a youth group, anything, I would go all over Virginia and just perform.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be like, yo, if you like me, just go tell your friends and I'll do it. So I was performing everywhere. And then I met this promoter and I was like, yo, like I'll hype my your shows.
Mm-hmm.
So he would do like paint parties, like, or like big, like ultra events in like Virginia, like type vibe. And I'd be like, yo, I'll MC it. So I would like hype the crowd up. If like things were going right or like things were happening, I would kind of like hype up the crowd or delay it or like do things just to like keep things going. And then he's like, all right, my goal is to get like a secular event and a Christian event and then have you open up. So then he ends up getting B.O.B. Like, this is 2016 B.O.B. So B.O.B., he's a little bit falling off, but he's still hot. He's still B.O.B. She's like, yeah, I'm bringing B.O.B. You can open up. And I'm like, oh, bet. And then I'm getting ready to open up. And he's like, oh, also, I just booked Gavi. So Gavi, I just got signed to Reach Records.
Yeah.
And Gavi, like, he was like my favorite producer, like someone I always looked up to. Like, I'm like, dang, like, get to open up for him. I was more excited about Gavi than B.O.B. So me and my boys, we go perform, and like I had like backup dancers, like
Legit, you had backup dancers. That's interesting.
I'm sorry, it's so funny because like my boy Enzo, he was a backup dancer, but now he's like one of the best producers ever. So it's so funny to me, like he started as my backup dancer. Like we had like my boy Romar, he was singing like vocals in the back. Like it was so ugly, dog. But it's like John was there, hype man, but like we just didn't care. So it was like a whole bunch of people here to see B.O.B. Huge crowd, like thousands of people. And like we just shut it down. Like we shut it down, we're going hype. And then right before I got off, I'm like, yo, I'm like, man, I know a lot of y'all here, like just trying to have fun, but we gotta look for something higher, man. Like we live in a crazy world right now. And I know some of y'all might not believe in Jesus, but like if you hurt and you going through stuff, man, look to God, because this stuff is not gonna fill us. It's like a sold out. No one here is like cares about God or Jesus, like nobody. And then you just see the whole crowd like, yeah, you right. Talk that talk. They didn't say talk that talk. Like, yeah, you right. And it was like crazy. And like who does that? Like you're a Christian artist rapping in front of a secular artist, like no one's gonna do that. And I did that. And I was just like, man, like I have a chance to like tell people about Jesus. Like I'm gonna do it. And then everybody get a standing, like everybody just clapping, cheering me when I get off. And I'm thinking in my head, like, dang, like, did I fold? Like, I'm thinking like, did I fold? And I don't know why I'm thinking that. And as I'm walking down the stage, all I see is Gavi on the side of the stage, clapping.
And that makes you think back about the validation you was looking for.
Yeah.
Right? Even as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
from your dad, from your mom.
Yep.
Looking in the mirror, validating yourself.
Yeah. See if I was worth anything.
See if you was worth anything. So
Well, it's going to that. It seems like it started with Surge though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was a building block, and now you got someone who's signed with Reach Records.
Yeah.
Right, Gavi. Now adding to that validation.
Yeah.
It's crazy how the building blocks, like you can see the building blocks where God is just kind of like giving you identity.
Yeah.
And it's like almost like, yeah, keep going.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting too, because even though I knew like, man, no amount of validation from any person is gonna fill the hole that my dad left. Only God can do that. I just thought it was so unique that at every point, like God still did that for me. Like I put in the work, but he created moments where I was faithful that, people would be like, yo, you got something. So then after that, I was like, oh shoot, it's Gavi. And he like that me. He's like, yo, where you from? I'm like, from Miami. He's like, oh, word, I'm from there too. And I was like, yeah, I know. So I listened to all your stuff. And he's like, oh, word. He's like, bro, like after this, let's connect. Like, let's build. Like, I want to work with you. And then from there, like now we're brothers. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that's good.
He produced most of my last album. My Life is a Beautiful Mess. And
I saw you perform at the Heat.
yeah, that joint was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I was there. I remember doing halftime.
Yeah, that joint was nuts too. Like growing up as a Heat fan and then performing at the Heat Arena, like that joint.
Yeah.
That joint was nuts. That joint was nuts.
Bro, you know what's funny? You remember when it was one of the first times that like me and you even had any type of engagement. And this was at the Brook at the church that was off of 826.
Yes.
Yeah, you remember that building off of 826?
Yep.
Let's say third.
And I remember talking to you outside, and I was like, yeah, so like tell me what you're doing, and you're like, oh, I do music, and you're so humble, so you don't know what. So I was like, I know, but like what's your plan B? Like what you really doing? You know what I mean? Like, and I had no idea like where you were already. You know what I mean? The traction. If I would have known that, I wouldn't have been like, yo, what's your plan B? But it's just funny how, everybody wants to be a rapper.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like everybody, Christian, like I said, everybody wants to be a rapper. So it's crazy how like God just like took you from such like humble beginnings. And you one thing about you is that you are extremely humble. You know what I'm saying? Like there are people that at where you are right now would have a completely different attitude. I mean, not to name names, but there were Christian artists that weren't even where you are right now, and was acting like, because of the attention that they got.
Yeah.
And I feel like you can see how God in your journey specifically sustains you because of that. You know what I'm saying? Like just that level of humility. He just continues to bring the opportunities, continues to bless where you step.
Yeah.
You know?
I think a big reason for that too is a couple reasons, but I'll name a few. Is one is now this is not the primary reason, but I've seen what the top dog, you know, what does it look like to be the top dog? Like I've been in the room with, you know what I'm saying, like the best.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the best, like I've been there, you know, and I've had cosigns from, you know, the best rappers, like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I know I'm like not there yet. And it's like, but that's not the primary. But the primary is I know why I do music for. Like for me, like from the jump, the reason why I started music was because I felt alone. I was dealing with these issues. I did it because I felt alone.
Mm-hmm.
And then now the reason why I do the music, still to work through my issues primarily, well, secondarily. And then, but primarily, it's to help others who feel alone as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like my goal is so that the reason why I do music is people who feel alone, they know they're not alone. And that's why I started Fully. So Fully means friend or family. So growing up, I felt alone. So my purpose is, I feel God has given me, is to show, hey, everybody has a story. Like you're not alone in what you're going through. So that's what Fully Vision, the whole thing is about, making Fullies. And it's pretty much just making disciples, you know, like showing you, hey, there's a God that loves you and cares for you and you're not alone. So that's the whole. So it's like, I'm not moving out of like my own ego. Like I'm moving on mission. I'm moving in purpose. So it's
that's
like,
good.
Like even if I had 100 million followers, like there's 5 billion people in this world, like, or 2 billion, I don't know. So it's like, I'm trying to like, I'm moving in purpose. Like it's job not done. Like I'm thinking Kobe, like job not done. You know, it's not finished. Like we got work to do.
Yeah. So now, you know, you're a CEO,
Mm,
you know, you've been a world-class athlete,
Yeah.
right? You know, known in the Christian game, right? Now, how, like, how do you feel that what you went through starting at 12 years old,
mhm.
how do you feel like that has shaped you to be a CEO or a leader now?
Yeah.
What is in the good and the bad, right? Like, is there still some insecurities about being validated?
Yeah.
So how do you feel like as a person who started Fully, which means friends and family,
Yeah.
how do you feel like that experience is affecting you now?
Oh, dude, that's a great question. So many things like jump to my mind. I think the first thing I'll say is I met this dude. His name is Bob Goff. He's a writer. I think he made a book called Love Does or Love Is, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Very good writer. Very interesting man. I met him and I told him like, yo, like how do I succeed? Like I came like super like, how do I succeed in life? He was like, oh, that's easy. Surround yourself with failures. And he was like, what I mean by that is like not people who are just bums and failing, like people who have failed in life and have grown and learned from their failure. They'll be able to impart wisdom on you. He's like go talk to some failures. Like see what they've done and learn from them. So I just like one thing that helped me is like one, I failed a lot, but I was able to see a lot of people who failed and learn and grow from them and like sit at their feet.
Mm.
Like, yo, you messed up here. Like, what can you tell me about that?
Mm-hmm.
And they would just tell me like people are always willing to share their story. You just need to approach them in a humble way, in a way and in a way that elevates them, that you're willing to glean and learn from them. Like one thing I've always said is like, yo, like if I ever get the chance to be in a room with somebody who's influential, I'm just going to ask them as much questions. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter the following. It doesn't matter how much money they have. Like you can always learn from somebody. Like
Yeah.
I would do stuff where I would help with the homeless people, and I would just sit and just talk to homeless people, and they would just tell me their experiences and their life stories and just how they got there. And they have so much wisdom. Everybody has wisdom.
Yeah.
Everybody, like, no matter where you are in life, you can contribute to society.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I met this one dude. His name is Dr. Guinea. It was me, John, and Daryl. And John, he go by Gleesy, the producer. Daryl's my creative director. And we're doing this thing called Saturday Sandwiches. We're in Virginia, and we're handing out sandwiches and talking to people. We meet this guy. His name is Dr. Guinea. And Dr. Guinea, he was telling me a story about how he like ended up in jail. And he's telling me this story of how there was a dude that was trying to like fight him and assault him, and there was all these police officers or something. He's telling me a story. I don't know if he made it up or not. He's telling me a story, and he was like, this guy approached him, and then he's like, man, this guy tried to approach me. I took out this knife. So as he's explaining the story, he takes out this knife that's like this big. Like, he pulls out his pocket. Like, I take out this knife, and he approaches us, and he goes up to John, and he starts lying. Like, he goes to John, and he takes the knife, and he starts going like this on John's chest. Like, I cannot make this up. And he's like, man, I took that knife, and I started gutting dude. And he takes a knife and pulls out on John. And then me, John, Daryl, we kind of just like this, like trying to be hard, but in our heads is like, dude really just pulled out a knife on us. Like, what? And he's explaining this story where like when he was younger, how he like made a rash decision based off like emotions he was feeling, and just talking about like, man, now like I work in the morgue, and I realize like, every day people are dying, and he's just like, he wraps it all up. And it's just like a crazy event. Like, dude pulled out his, not like some little knife, like he pulled out like a Crocodile Dundee knife, like, but it's like, you can learn from everybody. So like for me, doing all these things is like, I'm just trying to be humble with it, like just learn from people, understand, like, and like now I'm not trying to like seek validation, but just like knowing where it comes from, like where it comes from. I don't know if I answered your question though.
In a sense. In a sense. Basically, to sum up the question is like, how are you now?
Oh.
Like, you make your struggles, the good, the bad.
Yes. Yeah. I think with me personally right now, I'm learning to forgive myself, because like I just think about like a lot of like the mistakes I made, the things I've gone through. It's like, I think sometimes it's like I've completely forgiven my dad. Like I'm in a place where I've forgiven him, like truly. Like if he were to message me, like it's no bad blood or anything. If I seen him, it'd be cool. Like obviously it'd be emotional, but I have no anger or bitterness towards him. It's just I'm in a place where I don't need the relationship in a sense. So it's like if he were to come back, we're not gonna have this like father-son relationship. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I have people in my life who I go to for counsel and advice. Like he's not gonna just step into that role, but like it's all love. So I'm in a place where I'm like really like just learning to like forgive myself for the mistakes I've made. Trying to be like a better husband, a better brother, better friend, better boss. And I'm learning to just let go. So actually, I had a project I made in 2018 called Sunset. I never put it out. It's called SONSET, Sunset. It's pretty much the idea of the concept is it's like, even when the sun sets, like the actual sun, when the sun is setting, like God is still there, Even when the sun sets, like the sun is still outside. Like it's nighttime, but it's not like the sun is in a different place. It's just the world, you just can't see it.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing, even if you can't see God, he's still there.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of like, it was like a really dark project, but it was something I made to help me through like a dark time in my life. But I never put it out because I felt like, this is kind of dark. and there was no real like resolution to the project, so I didn't put it out. And also, this was during the time when I finished it, I started working with G, so I was like, we were making better stuff. So I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna put this out. I'm just gonna do My Life Is a Beautiful Mess. But then I was kind of like, actually like 3 days ago, I'm in my Discord. I'm talking to people in my Discord. Discord is like an app where like your fans could like engage with you. So I have a Discord for Fully, and they're just like, yo, just put it out. Like, yeah, we know you're working on your album. Just put it out. So I started thinking about it. I'm like, yo, like this project Sunset is like the prequel to my second album I'm working on right now. So I'm like, if I drop the second album without any context, people are gonna kind of be like, yo, you good, dog? Like, you know what I mean?
No, but I think with sometimes, man, like there's no need for a resolution sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's your story.
Yeah. I think just for me at the time, it was kind of like, I was like, yo, I'm a Christian artist. I don't want to lead people astray, because at the time I didn't have the answers. You know what I mean? It's like one thing I put it out, but I'm still like, hey, I've moved past this, or like I've worked through this. It's like, I was kind of like still in the thick of it. So I was like, just for me personally, I didn't feel like I was like, it would be right. But now since I've worked through it, I put it out.
Yeah.
Like I literally dropped it today. And like, I have people messaging me like, yo, this is your best stuff. And I'm like, what? Like, because they can resonate. And they're like, other people are like, yo, this stuff is really dark, but thank you for sharing a part of your life like we didn't know about. So it's like kind of cool. So all that to say is like, in this season, I'm like letting go to let God and be able to, you know, for real, like be used in a way.
When you say letting go,
Anger, grief, forgiveness.
okay, so it's not, when you say letting go, like it's not necessarily, because I'm correlating to you dropping a project that you had reservations
Yeah.
about dropping in the past, right? So when I hear that, letting go, I'm gonna drop this project, it's like I'm not really gonna care about what people per se are thinking, but I feel like this would be something that some people will be able to draw from,
Yeah.
because it was an authentic place in my life.
Yeah.
Like this is something I really went through, so I'm gonna kind of let go and just like, let's just put it out there, right?
Too. I also struggle, well, not as much anymore, but I struggle with letting go, like perfectionist vibes.
Yes.
Gotta be.
Yes, that's what I'm.
Gotta be. Da 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 da.
Yeah. Yeah.
This one I dropped it like it's not mixed. Transitions are off. Some of the harmonies are off. There's some mumbles in it. Like it's like a really unfinished project. There's one where it's missing a whole verse. It's just beat, like a minute and 30 seconds. Like I'm like, it's like me, like just hey,
Just
I
raw.
need to learn to let go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was more of like a therapeutic thing. Like I don't need to be perfect. Like people are going to see how authentic I am. You know, they're going to see the authenticity. And I was never going to put it out. So I just put Sunset, parentheses, Lost Tape 2018. So like people know this is something that like, you know what I'm saying? Like this was never coming out, but I'm putting it out so you can understand my journey.
Yeah. No, that's good, man. And I want to touch on that a little bit. Two principles I've drawn from what you said and what you kind of highlighted as like your growth process. One of the things that was pivotal for you was learning from those around you that have failed many times, right? I've said this before, I'll say it again. One of the most pivotal moments for me, being someone who's ambitious, a visionary, strives for more, wants to accomplish. When I heard Will Smith say, the difference between me and the next man is not that he's more talented than I am, it's that I was willing to fail more times than he was. And I see that commonality with people that are achieving anything. They're just willing to fail, right? You said it yourself. Like, how old are you?
29.
You're 29, but you've said I've failed many times.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's key. That's such a pivotal thing for me. But I also think that it's challenging for Christians because they tie that failure to who they are in Christ, and it's almost like, man, if I fail, I did something wrong. Like, so for example, you said you grew up with that philosophy, church, like relationship with God where it's like I have to earn my way. So typically if you failed at something, you try something, you failed it, I must have done something wrong.
Yeah.
Right. God's not blessing this. I must have, and I grew up with that shadow like over my life for so many years, of feeling like anything that goes wrong or doesn't work out, it's because I'm in sin or I'm doing something wrong or God's not pleased with me. So being able to embrace failure was very, very challenging for me. But that led to the next step, whereas like once I was able to embrace failure as a necessary aspect of growth as a Christian, right? Then it was, I need to stop caring. I need to stop caring so much about what other people think.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's what I'm hearing from you, like the whole letting go, because ultimately the perfectionism is based on how other people are going to validate what the work you did.
Yep.
That's where that perfectionism is coming from, right? So it's like, if I don't get this beat right, people that are out there or people that are at the top of the game are going to see this. They're going to hear this and be like, nah, I hear that. That's not, blah, blah, blah. So now it's like, you're getting to a point where it's like, you know what? You're putting these two things together. And it's like, no, like I need to stop holding that over myself. And just because at the end of the day, by you letting go, it frees you now to do more, put more out, but then you're actually going to get better because of that versus holding back and not, you know what I'm saying? Like that ultimately is the process of growth. And I think it's so important for believers that are striving to overcome, to accomplish, to be better, to like, number one, failure is okay.
Yeah.
Like, man, it's not only is it okay, but it's necessary, right? You can't be afraid to fail. Number two, you cannot care so much about what people think about you. Like, that is so like, for me, like so deep in my heart, because for you, it didn't necessarily, and I want to ask you this, but for you, it didn't necessarily come from your father. For me, it came from my father. Like, my father was the one that would critique and judge, and anything I did that was outside of the guideline of his vision for me, I guess, was like being judged. So I was always afraid about, what is he going to think if I do this? What is he going to think if I did that? For you, like, what even brought that sense of like, I'm worried about what people are going to think? What do you think put that in you if you didn't have a father that was doing that to you? At least I'm not hearing that. Your mom was kind of like that, what brought that to you?
Yeah, I think a lot of things was like internally motivated, like whether it was good or bad. Like,
Okay.
like I'm a very intrinsic person. Like, I think like a lot of it was like internally motivated, but
It probably came from this idea, like you said earlier, to prove yourself.
yeah.
So you put the pressure on you.
I
You
put
were
the
just
pressure on
applying
myself,
pressure, which we all do to some degree.
Yeah.
But for me, I know there was an outside source that really played a role in that as well.
Yeah, like I really, at a young age, like literally, when I was like before my dad left, I was very like, like I was very hyper and stuff like that, but I wasn't like the guy or the outgoing person. After my dad left, I was like, yo, I'm about to switch it up.
Mm.
So then I was just kind of like, yo, I don't care what you think about me.
Yeah.
Like, it was like defiance, which I did care to some extent, but this.
So it did have okay. So
My dad,
he did have some influence then.
but it was like indirect.
Yeah,
And not
facts.
directly like yours, but it was.
Yeah, I missed that part. So yeah, because earlier you said you began to now question all the things he did. Son, you're so handsome. Son, I love you, right? And then him leaving caused you to be like, well, maybe you lied about that. Maybe I'm not handsome and I'm ugly. Maybe you actually don't love me and I'm not lovable, right? Yeah. So now you're facing those thoughts in your head or those assumptions in your head, and you're like, all right, now I got to challenge these. So now I got to face these things and be like, no, I'm going to prove that I am, So it's so interesting, the impact that our fathers have on us, whether they're present or not, is so real.
Yeah.
It's so real.
That's why I think there's a case study. It's like the percentage of men in prison with fathers are extremely low to men in prison without fathers.
Yeah.
I don't know the percentage, but it's like high.
Yeah.
It's like high. Like supposedly it's like better for your father to be present than your mom.
Yeah.
For a young man.
Jordan Peterson did a talk on that. You know Jordan Peterson,
No, I don't.
the psychologist?
I know Jordan Peele.
Nah, Jordan Peterson did a study on that.
That's sick.
Yeah, about the impacts of fathers in their children's lives versus the impacts of mothers in their children's lives, and like the fallout is so much heavier when a father's not present versus when a mother's not present.
Yeah, that's like my dream.
It's interesting.
Though. Like more than like any music thing, like more than any acting thing, like my dream is to be a dad.
Yeah.
Because my dream is all like that's all I want to be. Is dad.
I'm gonna bring up something. This is so interesting, and I know Ronaldo is gonna be able to kind of relate to this just a little bit because we had an interesting conversation. For y'all that don't know, Ronaldo is the one behind the camera right now.
Shout out Ronaldo.
For sure, definitely.
Cameraman.
I've struggled as a father and even as a husband because of, and this is gonna be tough. This is gonna be tough for some people to hear, but I've struggled as a father and as a husband because my father was present.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Because I absorbed so much from him. And
so much bad.
Yeah, and I was gonna say a lot of the unhealthy behaviors you can't choose as a child. You can't choose like I'm gonna take the great stuff from my father, but I'm not gonna take the negative stuff. You think you can? Because I grew up saying like, oh, I'm not gonna be like this or I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
You know. But then you find yourself subconsciously just doing these things, you know?
Yeah.
But it's just, it's so interesting how that works. Like, for you didn't have your father present, but but I'm sure if you could, you would trade things to have your father in your life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and selfishly, ignorantly, I would even say, there's moments where it's like, well, dang, what could I have accomplished if I didn't feel so mentally controlled by my father?
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I brought this up before, but in my last marriage, my ex-wife used to tell me all the time, like, why do you care so much about what your dad thinks about you? Why don't you just go and do it? And like, I'm a grown man. I'm grown man, I guess to some standards, but I'm, 26, 25 years old at this time, married, house, kids, and I'm worried about what's your dad gonna. It's such a crippling feeling, you know.
Mm.
And then on top of that, like the behaviors of just like being so critical, judgmental, controlling with my kids, just the anger that would show up and stuff like that. I still wrestle with that now. I still wrestle with that with my son, like being short-tempered, particularly with my son. Particularly, it's so interesting. Like with my son, I'm like having to fight against some of these feelings that I'm like, yo, this is not good. My son's 3 years, he's 2.5 years old. And it's showing up from how my dad was with me growing up. You know what I mean? So just the dynamic of like, on one hand, man, what a blessing it is to have a father in your life. And I wouldn't trade that.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the greatest attributes about me came from my father, my drive, my grit, my grind, my fight, like all that came from my father. I could never take that away from him, But then there's this thorn in my side that I have because of, my father. What are y'all thoughts on that?
The first time I ever I remember I was having a conversation with somebody I care about, and she said something to the similar effect, like, she said, oh, it's worse having a father that's around, but like wasn't really there for you. And like the first time she said that, I was like, yo, what? Like,
yeah.
Like I wish my dad, like, what I'm saying, was around or was like, like type thing. It wasn't the best influence. Like at least he's there. Like there may be like some flashes of good moments, but like at least he's there. Like you don't know how bad it was. But then I heard what she was saying. It was like the want for a relationship, the want for wholeness. It's like comparing someone's struggle, you can't quantify that. Like
Yeah.
you can't quantify how someone feels or like emotionally what they've gone through and how what someone's done has affected you. Like you can't quantify and compare someone's, like, for some people, parents' divorce is nothing to them.
Mm-hmm.
To some people, that's earth shattering.
Yeah.
You know what I
Facts,
mean?
facts.
So like
Facts.
you can't quantify and compare. So like I think there may be some people that hear that and be like, yo, Gio's tripping, but it's like I can't quantify his hurt
Yeah.
or the struggles that he had to go through because of his dad was present. Like
Yeah.
to some people may be a no-brainer, but like in reality you can't quantify that. So man, I'm sorry about that. Like
Yeah, no, and I bring it up because I know like some people hear that and be like, "Yo, you're crazy." Like, especially they know my father. My father wasn't by any means a neglectful
yeah.
individual. Every single wrestling match I ever had from sixth grade, he recorded it. Never missed a match.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and half my team, I would say 75% of my team, didn't have their fathers showing up.
Yeah.
So I understand like the implications of what I'm saying,
Yeah.
but at the same time, no one lived in my shoes.
Exactly.
No one was the eldest son in my house.
Yeah.
You know, no one had the father that I had or
Yeah.
saw how these things showed up in my life. Like I blamed my father for a while because of my failed marriage, because I was my father. You know what I'm saying? And I know the unhealthy ways in which I contributed to that relationship.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, man, it's interesting. It's interesting. You know, I'll say what it does for me. What it does for me, and I think the beauty in it all, as a current father, what it does for me is it causes me to fight even harder. Knowing the influences that fathers have to their children, it causes me to fight even harder to love well, right? To love my wife well, to love my son well, to love my daughter well, knowing that no matter how they feel about the way I parent, to some degree, they will take on the good and the bad ways in which I parent.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that drives me. That drives me to allow God to seep into these areas of my heart that affect my parenting and say, God, please, like, help me with these particular areas so that it doesn't have to be passed on to my kids and stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah, I know I'm like my dad. Like the thing was about my dad, he was very charismatic.
Okay.
He's a dude walk in the room. He like you talk to him, he'll make you feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
Like no matter, and I could do that too. I could talk to someone, make them feel real good about themselves, like genuinely. So I take in a lot of good, but then like the bad, like when he's angry, don't want to talk, open up, make you feel a wall. Like
Shut down. Kind of shut down.
Shut down and like make you feel it.
Yeah.
Make you feel that weight. Like angry, like puff his chest, like mad, make you feel it.
Yeah.
Like I've taken that too. And I haven't seen him in 17 years, but
Fascinating, right?
from when
Still have some of it, yeah.
I still got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I remember one time I texted Nevy. I'm walking in the grocery store and the way I'm walking, I'm like, and the way I'm looking at stuff, I'm like, yo, my dad used to do this. And I text her, I'm like, yo, I'm really my father's son. Like some slight random, but it's like, yo, like, I haven't seen him in 17 years.
You want to hear a crazy story?
Mm.
So when I was working for South Florida Wellness, this is where I really saw like there's something deeper when it comes to the influence parents have on their children. When I was working at South Florida Wellness, and I ended up taking on a new family or a new client, if you will, and this girl at the time was probably like maybe 7 or 8, and I was working with her foster mom. This girl was like kicked out of school multiple times just for like really bad behavior, but not just bad behavior, but at her age, extremely sexual,
Wow.
promiscuous. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, she was super young, but like very, just like it was a bad situation. And as far as like showing herself, you know,
Yeah.
things of that nature. And I just remember like, dang, like she's so young and already like so much of her innocence is kind of just gone, you know, like what is up with that? And the foster mom was like, you want to see something crazy? She's never met her mom, ever. Never met her mother. She's like, let me show you her mom. So she pulls up on Facebook. Yo, her mom is like on the streets, constantly selling her body, you know, drugs, like all this stuff.
Mhm.
But she's never met her mom. And as a young girl, without even ever meeting her mother, she's on that track,
On the trajectory.
on that trajectory. Like personalities identical, attitudes identical. Like it's crazy. Like you hear the little girl talk and then you hear the mom talk and you're just like, it blew my mind. Like it just absolutely blew my mind. Just it's crazy, man. It is crazy. Just parenting. There's such a bond. There's such a soul tie there with your kids. It really hits you the weight of the responsibility that comes with being a parent.
Right.
You know, powerful thing. But
It's nuts.
never met her.
Yeah, man, that foster care system, and then you just think about what atrocities happened to her during that.
Process maybe of getting placed. Yeah.
And, ah, man, that's sad. Like, that's sad.
So what's next for you, bro? Like,
A crazy switch.
Hey, well, that's what it's about, though, man.
Yeah.
what's next for you, man? Like, what? You know, you're married.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how's that going?
Man, it's going good, man.
How long has it been?
It's been a year and about 4 months.
1 year, 4 months.
1 year.
Early. How's that going?
1 year and 4 months. Yeah.
So how's that been, man?
It's been good, man. It's been good. It's been, sometimes it's challenging, but it's been more fun than challenging.
Nice.
To be honest.
That's great.
We have like a lot of responsibilities, like, you know, with apartment life. So
Yeah.
that's been
Shout out to Apartment Life.
shout out apartment life, man. Got me in Wynwood, flexing.
Yeah.
But no, like it's been really good. Like just one thing we've just been saying recently is like Team Agama. This is my last name. Like we're team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and she's awesome. It's like really I find myself not being like good enough for her in a sense. Like it's like more times than not recently, it's kind of like, dang, I could have done this. I could have done this. I could have done this. I could like it. And it's like, I'm thinking about the past, like, I should have done this. Should have done this. Shouldn't have. So like, even now, letting go, like, man, like, stop worrying about what you could have done. Just do it now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just do it now. Like, just be better now. Like, but I'm also learning, like, I have to be the best me so I can show up. So like vice versa for her too. Like she has to be the best her so she can show up for me. And it's like we're like kind of like saying like, okay, like we need to make sure like we're good so that we can be there
That's real, man.
for each other. So that's kind of like
That's real.
where we're at right now.
High capacity relationships often find themselves in that predicament where it's like you're putting so much of your energy towards the things that you're involved in, and the actual marriage gets second best.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like that. Also this, and I'm curious to see if you've seen this show up in your relationship, but also with high driven individuals as yourself, myself, do you ever see like the spirit of competition in the relationship? Like, do you ever see where it's kind of like, for example, for you, you're Aklesso, right? The rapper, business owner, clothing line, Fully Industries. Oftentimes, like, people are going to give you more attention than Yanibi. Have you ever seen how that kind of like affects things?
100%. I think it was one thing I really liked about marriage, premarital, was one, I didn't know she had those feelings of like comparison of me to her. I didn't
Yeah,
know
yeah.
she had those feelings.
What does she do for work?
So she is a librarian and a secretary to the principal at this Christian school. Yeah,
Dope.
kids love her, but she wants to get into like counseling women, like that's what she wants to do.
Awesome.
And I didn't know like she compared herself to me, like as far as like drive and like different stuff like that. But that came out in marriage counseling.
Yeah.
It was very enlightening to me. So I just tried to validate her as much as possible. So what I did for her 30th birthday was I did like the scavenger hunt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the best for words of affirmation, but that's like very big for her. So every time she found a clue on the scavenger hunt from every Wednesday in the month of February, every time she found a clue, it would give her a different number of validations. So she would do that, and then after the end of a certain amount for that day, she would get like a gift. So at the end of the month, she got the final gift, which was we're going on a cruise to the Bahamas for her
Nice.
birthday.
Nice.
But also, she compiled 30 different validations,
Or words of affirmation.
words of affirmation
Yeah, that's dope.
for her 30th birthday.
Nice.
So now anytime she's feeling kind of way, kind of like what I did when I was a kid, I would just tell myself these things. Now she can just read these things and say it in the mirror. You know, so that was my way of showing love to her. Because I'm not the best at like,
Yeah.
I'm not the best of like, so like sports, right? Someone sucks. Not comparing my wife to someone who sucks, but just to give you an example, someone sucks. Man, get it together. Like I'm like that. That's
Yeah, no, I hear you, bro. I hear you.
yeah,
I
like
hear you.
that's what I'm on.
I hear you.
So it's like I can't treat marriage like sports. Like it don't work like that.
Yeah, at all.
So it's like, you know what? I need to go above and beyond, and I need to affirm my wife.
Yeah, man, that's tough. That is so hard.
Just to kind of show you what's going on. Like marriage has been a lot better. Like when I've worked on being a better person.
Yeah,
You know, and so that's what I'm working on: be a better husband, be a better friend, be a better dad. But then also, it's like this year is about to be nuts for music. Like I really believe after this year, I'm gonna be in a different conversation,
Nice.
like musically. And I'm not saying that out of like a bravado, but it's like I don't know, like the opportunities that God has, it's like insane.
nice.
Like it's like nuts. Like what is about to happen for me. So I'm like very much so excited, you know, like
We're excited for you, bro.
the music is gonna be nuts. Like, and then just the team I got around me, like, and we're still trying to expand it too, like fill in some gaps. But it's like, yeah, I'm like very grateful that you know, just for this opportunity. So yeah, like I think this year I'm dropping a project in May. It's a collab project I'm very excited about. And then also, oh, I don't think I was supposed to say that. Yeah.
Well, you didn't tell us who, so it's all good.
Right, yeah.
You didn't say who, so it's all
Yeah.
good.
And then shoot, it's bad. You don't have to blur it out, but just
This ain't dropping for another little bit.
for a while.
Yeah, you're
Okay,
you're
good. Okay,
Yeah.
good. So by then, maybe you already know about it. And then at the end of the year, I'm dropping my project, which I'm very excited about. And I think the first single I put out for it is going to come out in July with a video and stuff. So that's about to be nuts.
Nice.
And then from there, I'm just going to put the game on a chokehold. Like I'm not stopping after that.
Nice.
So I'm excited.
So I know you've been working out more
Yeah, man.
and
Can you tell?
you know, trying to get in better shape. Yeah. It's looking good on that sweater.
You feel me?
Would you say that as you mature
Mm-hmm.
as a Christian, you know, and just like in your goals and in you know the things that you're missionally trying to accomplish,
Mm-hmm.
would you say that your health, your physical health, becomes a greater conviction?
Yeah. Yeah, not even. It's interesting because like exercising is like now I'm exercising. I'm like, man, I'm not exercising for now. I'm exercising for the future.
Yeah.
I'm exercising for the future because like, man, I'm trying to play with my kids, and even in the like when I transition to like movies and stuff, I want to have a certain physique. You know what I mean? And it's like, not only that, is like it's like a discipline.
Yes.
It's like a form of discipline, and big thing about Christianity, like a lot of it is discipline. How you disciplining your eyes, how you disciplining your mind.
Hey, say that again. Repeat that. So big thing what?
A big thing about Christianity is discipline. How you disciplining your mind, how you
Yes.
disciplining your eyes. So it's like having that discipline to, all right, every day, barring you being sick, you're going to the gym.
We were just talking about this, bro.
We actually have a segment.
We were just talking about this. But go finish your thought. Finish your thought.
See, man, SavedTlk. That's that SavedTlk. Feel me?
Talk.
Feel me?
Finish that thought. Finish that thought.
But yeah, like a big thing about Christianity is discipline. So it's like there needs to be a correlation on disciplining your body.
Yeah.
So you're able to discipline your mind. Discipline. And it's like if you're able, for me, I see it as if I'm able to push through something that's so challenging, I'll be able to push through something that's so challenging in life.
Yes.
I'll be able
Yes.
to like, man, stuff's not working now. I feel like I need to quit. You're in the gym, you got 200 pounds on your neck.
Yeah.
You can't just quit. You're going to hurt yourself.
Facts.
Same way, if you quit on yourself, you're going to hurt your soul. You're going to hurt your spirit. You got it. You don't quit on yourself because God didn't quit on you.
Yeah.
And if you fail doing everything you did, and you failed,
Yeah.
do something else. It's not the end of the world. It's like if you're squatting, got like all this weight on you. If you have like the bars to catch you,
Yeah.
You're squatting and you squat till failure. Boom, you fell down. A lot of weight fell, but it was caught. And just like that thing caught you, God is gonna catch you too.
By His grace.
Just by His grace, He's gonna catch you too.
Yeah.
Just keep going. Don't quit on yourself. Don't quit on life. You're not alone.
Yeah, man. It's just, I think for me, man, it's just amazing just hearing your story, comparing it to mine, comparing it to Gio's father's being present and yours is not, in the way that it shaped you, the way that it has motivated you, the person that you are now. And it's just evidence, man, for anybody that's going through a specific predicament, whether your father's in your life or your father is not, or even the 8-year-old girl that Gio was talking about, that God is always there.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, God is always there. Like, even through my struggle, man, I have, you can't see it because of my jacket, but I have a picture tatted on my arm where when I was going through my thing, that is a sheep hanging off a cliff, and the shepherd is reaching down to grab the sheep. And I think for my life, man, is that, like, in back of my mind, I know that God would never desert me, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what I'm going through. Doesn't matter the predicaments I'm going through. Doesn't matter the trauma that I'm in. Like, God would never desert me, right? And I think that shows up in your story and your life. And yeah, man, thank you for sharing it, man.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing it. And I hope it gives people hope that no matter where they're at in their story, that God is with them.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. And it's only the beginning, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you ain't nowhere yet, bro. Like, it's only the beginning. Like, people are going to truly begin to see what God was able to do with you from your humble beginnings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 10 years from now, it's going to be like, yo, that's where he started?
Mm.
No.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's it's amazing. And our prayer for you is that the Lord would be gracious with you, and that your heart would remain glued to the ground, you know, and remain humble as people know you, to be so humble, so gracious with others. And that way God would always be glorified through your platform and the ministry that He's given you. Yeah, man. So appreciate you coming on.
Oh, thank you.
And being, you know, really one of the first ones on the podcast, SavedTlk Podcast. Yeah, man. Appreciate you, bro.
Nah,
Appreciate you.
oh man,
Appreciate
this
you.
is
Yeah,
a
man.
blessing.
The best teacher is not your experience, it's someone else's. That's what you said. I just put it into a quote.
Nice.
Right? Because you said you learn from others, man. Room full of
Facts. Facts.
So that was dope.
Thank you.
We'll catch you guys on the next one. Thank you for tuning in.